Hi, this is Mia Walsh, the PCA National HPDE Chair, and I wanted to thank you for joining us for the third quarter National Driver Education Quarterly HPDE meeting scheduled for Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Pirelli. Pirelli provides sponsorship funding for the HPDE program, which includes the National Instructor Training Schools that we present throughout the U.S. and Canada. So thank you, Pirelli. We have a relatively quick agenda this quarter, and I just wanted to do some welcomes and announcements. We're going to talk a little bit about the 70th anniversary celebration of PCA, continuing professional education, electric vehicles, 2026 National Instructor Training, and diving into Section 9E of the minimum standards. I'd like to thank my national trainers. We've been conducting schools throughout this year, and I'm displaying a picture from the PCA Rally Sport region at the Graton Raceway from August 2025. I will be attending an upcoming one with the Carolinas region at Virginia International Raceway in November. And I'm looking forward to finally meeting all of my friends down there that I've been talking to for 5 years and haven't met in person. So can't wait to get down there. I'd like to welcome Dan Germain from the Hill Country region from Zone 5. He is stepping into the PCA National Instructor Training position that was taking over from Scott Mann, who stepped down after many, many hard years of dedicated service to focus on his personal racing and his booming business. So though we were very sorry to see Scott Mann leave, we are excited to welcome Dan Germain to our program. And one of Dan's greatest strengths is linguistics. And Dan is fluent in many languages and is working to put together our National Instructor Training School completely in Spanish so that we can be inclusive of those who English is not their first language, but perhaps might be more comfortable reading or learning about some of our programs in Spanish. And he's also fluent in French. So I'm looking forward to rolling out also some French documentation for our PCA National Instructor School, which I know our Canadian friends in the Quebec region especially will benefit from. So welcome, Dan. So happy to have you on the team. A little reminder about the SA 2015 helmet expiration. Way long ago, in the beginning of this year, we knew that we were going to be extending the use of the SA 2015 helmets to February 28th, 2026. Normally, within our minimum standards, the program would have those helmets expiring at December 2025. We all know the manufacturers can't begin selling the new helmets until October 1st. So I just wanted, to make your students and drivers aware that we're at least rolling into February 28th, 2026. I did speak to a distributor this week who says it's likely, they've had orders in for hundreds of helmets that have been in for at least 4 to 5 months. They are not seeing any shipments being released. Now, I wouldn't expect them to be released until later this month or early in October. But knowing that these shipments aren't being released, it looks probable, but not officially yet, that we are probably, but not officially yet, extending this till June 2026 if inventory is an issue. I will 100% follow up on this later in September. in the beginning of October to get a better feel for how the channel is filling with inventory. I had a question that came in through one of the regions about the ECE helmets and whether PCA allows the ECE helmets for the DE program. And if you aren't aware of what the ECE means, it's the Economic Commission for Europe. And the ECE helmets for street legality, they're not recognized legally for use in the US. Now, obviously, that has nothing to do with us on the racetrack, but we do not permit them on the racetrack because they don't have any kind of date stamping, labeling, anything regarding their expiration dates on their helmets. So because we do require helmets that have date stamping, the ECE helmets are not permitted in the HPDE program, nor club racing. Okay, so the last time we were together, we had a request from the PCA National to get some HPDE historic programs, whether they were any types of photographs, any types of documentation about the HPDE programs over the last 70 years. And I had the pleasure of going through the PCA 70th Museum at Oklahoma City Parade in July and was so happy to see that the New Jersey and NJR region provided something from Watkins Glen, not 70 years ago, but in the early 90s. And I got to see a couple DE memorabilia at the parade. So thank you to any of our regions that sent in HPDE memorabilia, photographs, documentation to the parade 70th Museum Celebration Committee. I appreciate that. I took the opportunity to look at some of the 70th logos, 70th different types of apparel that they had. And I'm going to be asking on our Facebook page or through via HPDE Chair at PCA.org. We have this weekend is the big 70th celebration weekend on the 13th of September. And if your region has done anything specific in the HPDE world with the 70th, please share that with me either via email or post up on our Facebook page. I'd love to see how the HPDE committees throughout the regions are celebrating the 70th anniversary of PCA. I took a little opportunity to get a selfie with Hans-Peter Porsche. He was so amiable and very willing to hop into a photo with me. So that was at the Porsche parade. Definitely an experience that I will cherish. So Pirelli, I got to spend a lot of time with Pirelli in the convention area of the parade in Oklahoma City and formed a great new relationship for me. We've had a relationship with them for many years. And I was able to get one of the technical specification person, project person, development person named Patrick Dragosai or Dragosy. I have to learn how to say it properly. I'm so sorry, Patrick. To speak to all of the HPDE leaders, all of the instructors, anyone who wants to participate. Oh my gosh, a spotted lanternfly. Yuck. Sorry about that. Taking advantage of being beautiful outside today in Baltimore. Anyway, September 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern, the link to register for the event was in the link, an email that I sent out making you aware of this video. So please register. When I looked yesterday or the day before, we had 170 people registered already to learn about what's coming down the line with Pirelli, talking about product development, material development. I'm super eager about it. There was also a Q&A Google form if you wanted to ask some questions in advance to give Patrick a moment to go through all of the questions and see if there were a lot of recurring questions. What are the hot topics for drivers and DE leaders out there? And we are really, really excited to welcome Pirelli to speak to our HPDE program. Registration is required, as I mentioned. They had on display at the parade this new Trofeo track tire, which is a DOT approved, so aka street legal track tire that you could drive your car with these tires to the racetrack and drive them on the racetrack and drive them home without having to bring another set of wheels that many of us have to do if we're not trailering a car. So we're going to learn a little bit about that tire specifically and some other great developments that they have coming down the road. Wanted to thank Megan Gilmartin, who is our PCA liaison for Pirelli. She helped organize this for us, and I'm super grateful for it. Okay, so I really want to continue having our instructors learn things, our leadership in the DE world learn things, our region leadership learn things. And many of you may not be aware that in August, just a couple of weeks ago, we had a webinar with PCA's National EV Coordinator on electric vehicle. All kinds of different areas of clarification, a lot of technical information, charging, what kind of tires we need for EVs, what's going on with batteries, what's going on with Porsche, what's going on with EVs on track, hybrid and EVs, all kinds of different things that he was able to talk about. It's a 35 or 40 minute presentation. I have it both on the PCA HPDE YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, anything new that we post up there would be available. Like this is going to be on there when I'm finished recording it. But it's also, if you're a leader in your region, any kind of leadership in your region, you can also get it from the region focus drop down when you click on your little name, and it shows all of the different links that you have when you're at pca.org. If you click on region focus, it's the last region focus, the first one that's up. It also has the PDF file of his presentation as well as a recording of the webinar. So please, in your free time, go ahead and learn a little bit about what's going on in the hybrid and EV world, and specifically what Porsche is. A small portion of that is relating to EVs on track, but I think it's good knowledge for all of us to have at any rate. The National PCA HPDE Committee had a meeting about a month ago, and we talked a lot about electrics and hybrids with the HPDE world, specifically since that's our focus. And the general consensus, I have people all over the country throughout all of the different zones there that are part of my committee, and they're seeing limited participation in EVs in the HPDE world so far. We're not getting blown away by EVs on track. Many tracks are still not allowing them. People are concerned about the battery life limiting track time, and they can only get 2 or 3 sessions a day. Some regions have gone on their own and are requiring additional liability waivers for anybody that is an EV driver in an HPDE world. And there are some regions as well that are requiring track insurance for EV participants, EV/hybrid driving participants in the HPDE world, with the track coverage and the insurance covering not only their car, but any damage that might occur on track. The regions are taking additional steps for risk minimization, and some requiring extra liability coverage, some requiring liability waivers, insurance, etc. But what our committee is committed to doing is to continue monitoring the EV participation trends, develop additional guidance as needed. We already have a list of questions and follow-up questions for regions to consider when allowing hybrids on track, or what might want to think about with hybrids and electric vehicles as you are signing your track agreements moving forward. If you haven't gotten a copy of those questions, please email me directly at hpdechair@pca.org. Okay, moving on. I'd like to welcome all of our new PCA National instructors. I'm actually recording this on September 9th, just as we have a group with the Metro New York region at Watkins Glen being trained today. I am thankful to Carol Neal, who is my national trainer, who's working with the Metropolitan New York region today at the Glen, and I am certainly hopeful that they are having this absolutely amazing weather that I'm having down here in Baltimore. I have a photograph here from our Alabama and Florida citrus regions that held a training event in July. Chuck Tucker, who is on my national committee, led that along with the leaders of those two regions at Talladega. And so I just wanted to thank them and welcome all of those new ones from the Alabama and Florida citrus regions. We've had 11 national instructor training schools this year so far, and have graduated 139 new PCA national instructors. We have 3 more national training schools scheduled throughout December 2025. So we'll get to add some more to that list. We've already set some dates for 2026. And the first one to commit to a date in early February are our friends down at PCA Puerto Rico region. And I will be having Dan Germain, who is fluent in Spanish, is going to be joining me down there. We haven't had a PCA National Instructor Training School in Puerto Rico since I've been taking over this role. So I'm really happy to meet all of our family down in Puerto Rico. And I'm been overwhelmed by their attention to detail and their really wanting to do things 100% for the training school when we come down there. If your region is considering a training school and you don't know what's required of you, if you already know a general idea of when your training may be, if you're a recurring training person or a region that's done, does them annually or biannually, better for me to hear from you earlier so we can disseminate the training opportunities that we have, so we can make sure that our folks are there to support you in any way possible. So please, if you are looking to schedule one for 2026, already know you have a date for 2026, please contact me at hpdechair@pca.org. Thank you. Okay, we talk a lot about what are the opportunities to get drivers on track with PCA HPDE. And we had added a new opportunity in this year's minimum standards. And there are pages of different opportunities within the minimum standards for various ways for you to get a potential new driver out on track. It's a lot of words, a lot of requirements, a lot of different scenarios, and I'm just going to breeze through the various differences on a higher level between, I think, 4 or 5 that I'm going to be talking about today. One of which we have here is time trials. So this would actually be HPDE drivers who have already been out on track, and this we see out on the West Coast a lot. We don't see it so much out on the East Coast, but time trials are held at the end of a DE event. So maybe you finish your DE program at 3 o'clock and you still have 2 more hours of track time. It's an opportunity to put a little bit of a competitive spin on the HPDE experienced people out there. It's an entrant or a driver driving his or her own car with helmets absolutely required, but no passing. And so it is, you would set out, depending on the length of your track, 2 or 3 cars max, so that they're at separate points on the racetrack. So they're not going to be driving into each other, not literally, but like coming up on them, and giving them an opportunity to see what their best, fastest, cleanest lap would be. The cars do require a technical inspection, and it is required that you have a small classroom session before the time trials go out to talk about the rules of passing and the rules of what the time trials are going to be for your event. Another one out there is Taste of the Track or DE Sampler, and it's an instructor driving an instructor's car with no helmets required. Technical inspection and classroom is required of it, and it gives someone an opportunity to be in the right-hand seat in a separate run group for Taste of the Track. So you're not going to be out there with regular HPDE participants. And again, all of the finer details of what these entail are in the minimum standards. Similarly, no helmets but no passing are the track tours that you can see in 9C of the minimum standards, also known as parade laps. It's the entrant driving his or her own car. It does not require a technical inspection. Doesn't require a classroom, but most parade lap regions that hold the parade laps do give a little bit of a driver's meeting beforehand to talk about speeds, no passing, that there's going to be a lead in the front, and most often there's always a sweep in the back out on the racetrack. So a lot of times regions will run these as a charity, pay. You go out at lunchtime and all of the money for the registration and or donations for this would go to a charity of the region's choice. Intro to driver's education as well is the entrant driving the entrance car with helmets, with passing, with tech inspection, and with the classroom. All of those are in the 9D with all of the different requirements along those there. And track experience, where it runs within a normal run group session, whatever your novice run group session is. It is an instructor driving the car. It could be either the instructor's car or the entrance car. It's running under full DE rules. Helmets required, passing's allowed. The car does need to pass a tech inspection. That can be the at-track tech inspection. And they do have to participate in a classroom. The caveats on this is that you can only have 4 within a run group that are running at the same time. We have a lot of experience in the track experience over the last year and a half. So if you're interested in learning about this, we've learned some best practices of how to organize this. It could be a little chaotic unless you have really got your systems in place to get these participants into a classroom session, to get them waivered and get the inspection. So we have a lot of experience on that and can help with some of the logistics if you're thinking about it for the 2026 season. It is a lot to process, a lot of variations in there. And when I was talking to one of my DE committee folks, one of the national trainers, Chuck Tucker, I said, boy, it'd be really great to have a little cheat sheet with all of the different requirements, who they're for, kind of just put so you can look through this in one grid. Talks about a lot of those things that I talked about, but the who else is on track is really important piece of the experiences. So for track experience, you're running in the lowest run group. We did get approval in 2025 to also include the next run group up if you have if it's still if it's still an instructed run group. It can't go out with a non-instructive run group. For intro to DE or DE intro, it's a dedicated run group only. So only those intro to DE drivers are in there. Taste of the track, again, that is its own run group session. It's not mixed in. And parade laps is also a dedicated session for parade laps. So the track experience is the only one that can run within a normal HPDE run group. You can see here what are the speed restrictions, is passing allowed, what kind of clothing do they have to wear, are helmets required, what about the tech inspection, what about the briefing or meeting. Are you allowed to have passengers? Everybody has to sign a waiver. And so I have this document that kind of puts it together in a nice grid form if you're looking through different opportunities to get people on track that don't want to dedicate a whole weekend or a whole event to DE, if they just want to learn to see if it's something that they like. Okay. I had a light quarter of updates. I know a lot's going to happen in the fourth quarter. So I did not receive any questions in advance for this presentation. But again, now I have a B. If you have any questions, I'm always available at HPDE Chair at PCA.org. You know, I always thank my PCA National DE committee members, great sounding board, great supporters, great representatives for the DE program out in your zones and your regions. So thank you to all my friends here and also to all of my national trainers who are helping you all with your PCA National Instructor Training Schools. Thank you so much for your time tonight.